I think in season 1, once you've set up this is what the show is, you're always open to have a little more fun and yet still deepen the whole experience for the characters and the viewer.
All right, we're gonna go
When
again.
he says, I prefer if you took him, have Grogu look up at Dad like, really?
Okay.
And then she starts talking and then have him look back to her.
Okay.
But just this little moment, like if my dad said, I prefer you took him.
You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, not like shocking.
No, but just kind
But
of
just
like,
like,
yeah, acknowledge that you said it.
yeah.
I don't like bringing characters in unless there's a real value to it. So when I wrote the episode with her in it this year, it really was about how can we learn this child's name, who would know these things.
Grogu and I can feel each other's thoughts.
What's fascinating with her is she's the first character that we've met that really actually knew Yoda. So for her, it's bringing back all these memories and things that aren't unlike what the viewer experienced as well when they saw the child for the first time. I learned so much making that episode, and I hope to bring that to future episodes. Never stop learning. That's the way of the Jedi. Never stop learning.
You want to hold him? Can I hold the baby?
You're being the...
This is it. Hold on a second.
That's your great-great-great-grandfather.
You have three?
Everything in this episode is in a stage. It's in the volume or it's in a stage. But if you look at the story, it happens entirely outside. So we're doing that for various lighting reasons, and because the volume, will offer fantastic results. But we have to get a sense of atmosphere, of particles, to make, I think, this feel like we truly were in this location. If you watch any Kurosawa film and the amount of wind that's blowing and the sensibility it's giving the story, but just something to consider that the environment itself should be a big part of playing this story.
If you watch like the great sword fights, like in Samurai Trilogy, Toshiro Mifune, any of them, they're always measuring each other because one wrong move and that's deadly.
With Dave's episode, we really start to get into nuance. It is something that tonally I found particularly artful and also amazing to see him bring in an animated character of his into live action.
I intentionally did not do anything with her in season 1 because I didn't want to mess it up. It's a character that George and I created. She's one of the first things I ever drew for Clone Wars. We cast Ashley Eckstein to be the voice of the character, and she brought such a great energy to Ahsoka in the animated series. People know this character. They've watched her grow up, and the challenge was to take all of the elements we had and evolve them into this live-action version. So cool. I think we just have the hood down for this scene and this moment, and she would have put it down off screen. And when we do the attacks and the kills, you'll have it up then. It'll be cool.
So already coming out with it.
Already coming out with the hood down on this.
Cool.
I like losing that business. And this is so strong. Your face is so strong. There you go. There are moments when I just stare at her and I'm just like, wow, she just looks like this thing I've drawn. Sarah's done all the research. Like, she knows the character, but now she has to become it in a way that's never happened before.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Mandalorian Season 2 video for the bonus episode that they dropped through the Disney Gallery program. There's just a whole bunch of extra material from the making of Season 2 and a bunch of really cool extra details that they didn't reveal during the actual episodes. If you're new to the channel, I'll be doing videos for Mandalorian Season 3 and all the other Mandalorian spin-off shows that they announced, including the Ahsoka Tano series that they're going to be filming next year. So I'll explain what's going on with that, what Dave Filoni has said about those episodes. Careful for spoilers from everything that happened during The Mandalorian Season 2, just because we'll be talking about everything that happened during these episodes. But just starting with the biggest stuff first, obviously the biggest thing here is all about Dave Filoni bringing his animated characters that he's been living with for so long into live action, and when he decided to do that, how he decided to do that, and why he decided to wait to Season 2 to do Ahsoka Tano. The way he explains it during all these videos is that he decided to do this a long time ago, especially when he was talking to Katie Sackhoff about Bo-Katan. When she first started recording the lines years and years ago, he said, if this works out, we could do this in live action someday. She of course didn't believe him, but obviously he was thinking the same thing for Ahsoka Tano. He always wanted to bring her into live action, but just didn't know when that was going to happen or when the opportunity would arise. Then they start doing the Mandalorian series, and it seems like the perfect place to do that, but the whole reason why he didn't do Ahsoka Tano during Season 1 as he explains it is because they were still figuring so many things out about what they were capable of doing that he didn't want to mess it up when he had this big chance. So that's why they waited to Season 2 till they figured out the technology and what worked, what didn't work during Season 1. If you remember, Season 1, Episode 5 was one of the most heavily criticized episodes, and when people found out that it was Dave Filoni that wrote and directed that episode, they were actually pretty critical of him after the fact. I had to go back to my video that I made for that episode to read everyone's comments, and I would say on the whole, just based on people's comments, they felt like that was one of the weakest episodes from Season 1, but the Ahsoka Tano episode from Season 2, Episode 5, was probably one of the best episodes and one of the best homages to classic samurai films like Kurosawa. They get into that very clearly, so obviously there are a lot of direct references they intentionally made with the way they filmed things, the look, the feel, the tone, because all the classic Star Wars films are inspired by Kurosawa films. Like you see George Lucas here all over the footage watching them film the Ahsoka episode. Clearly that was the episode that he came to watch because it was such a big deal. He also helped create the Ahsoka Tano character way back when they were working on the Clone Wars. If you weren't really familiar with his involvement in the Clone Wars, when Dave Filoni first started on that, he was actually relatively low ranking compared to where he exists sort of in the hierarchy of Lucasfilm right now. He's a much more powerful person inside Lucasfilm at the moment. But George Lucas was heavily involved in the early seasons of Clone Wars, and then as things got on and they started to take more and more responsibilities on themselves, he would just sit in on the really big stuff and check in on what they were doing, give them hints, tips, and help them create new things. Like when they were creating the Darksaber for the first time, George Lucas was a big part of that. He also explains when he decided to cast Rosario Dawson, it's because, get this, of fan art. So never let it be said that fan casting never works. What happened is a couple of years ago, people were posting fan art of Rosario Dawson talking about how she'd be amazing as Ahsoka Tano. Dave Filoni saw that art and said, you know what, she would be amazing as Ahsoka Tano. So this was still in the very early developmental stages of The Mandalorian Season 1. They hadn't even started filming yet, but because they knew they were going to do this live-action show, he's like, you know what? If I ever did Ahsoka live-action, she would be amazing. And because Jon Favreau had worked with Rosario Dawson before, Dave Filoni had him reach out to her and talk to her about doing Ahsoka Tano live-action, and of course, she was totally down for it. So the way they portray her in the episode, because this is meant to be a big samurai film homage, is sort of a Ronin samurai without a master. Only in the case of Ahsoka Tano, it's without a Jedi master, although they do reference Yoda during the episode when talking about Grogu. And why he decided for this to be the episode where they reveal so much about Grogu's backstory. The way he says it, it was all about his name. How do we reveal his name? Because they decided that his name was going to be Grogu pretty early on in the development process of the Mandalorian series, even back in Season 1. They'd known his name for a long time, they just chose to wait to this point to reveal it. But the reason why it became the Ahsoka episode is because he's a former Jedi Padawan, just like her, because he's a member of Yoda's species, and she had this long history of learning from Yoda, this relationship with him going back to the Clone Wars when she was young, like Grogu. And because on a practical level, he can't speak out loud as far as we know, unless he's kind of hiding that from us. So only someone who could read his thoughts could tell you exactly what he's trying to say. The other really cool thing that they talk about is the way they filmed her lightsaber fight scenes and how that's evolved from the original Star Wars movies through the modern films. They used to use really reflective material that would break. It was really hard to film with way back in the day. Like you see Mark Hamill practicing his lightsaber fight scenes for Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. Then when they got to the prequel movies, they evolved that just a little bit. Now the tech is even more advanced than that, and they actually have the lightsabers light up on screen so that they can frame the shots very differently. Like they talk about how the lightsabers illuminate her face now, and you get shots like this where it completely shapes her face in the darkness here, and it looks perfect. Probably one of the coolest shots from one of these fight scenes during this episode. They wouldn't have been able to do shots like this during the original Star Wars movies or even during the prequels. And as you can kind of see, as they've done with the other Mandalorian episodes, this episode for Ahsoka Tano was sort of like a pilot for the Ahsoka Tano spin-off series. Like, okay, let's test and see what we can do with her character, then we'll take it way further down that road when we get to her episodes. And for those of you wondering what's going on with the Ahsoka Tano series episodes, Dave Filoni himself, per Jon Favreau, is writing all the episodes himself right now as we speak. The way they talk about it, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are going to sort of run the Mandalorian cinematic universe of shows. There are 4 of them currently if you include The Mandalorian. So you have The Mandalorian, you have the Ahsoka Tano series, you have the Book of Boba Fett episodes, and then you have that New Republic series. But even though we probably won't see those Ahsoka Tano series episodes until 2022, she will come back and cameo during The Mandalorian Season 3 and possibly the other series as well. But the way Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni talk about it, all the main characters will cross over to each other's shows, just like the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. The whole thing with the Ahsoka Tano series is that she will just continue being that Ronin Jedi traveling around the galaxy looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn. And because of the timing of their big Avengers Endgame sort of team-up moment when they all go after Grand Admiral Thrawn, we might get some sort of stinger at the end of Mandalorian Season 3 where we see his fleet in the Chimera, the other Star Destroyers. Maybe we'll see him on screen for the first time. They might wait to the Ahsoka Tano episodes, though, to actually reveal his face on screen so we learn who the actor's actually going to be. I know everyone's pulling for Benedict Cumberbatch. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of rumors in the next year about who's playing Grand Admiral Thrawn. The whole thing with Luke Skywalker, too, like he says, is that they're very careful about which characters they bring in. It has to be completely in the service of the story. The way they talk about Grogu is that he'll continue to be an important part of the show, but the way they talk about Luke Skywalker makes it sound like this is meant to be a very special thing and he won't be showing up all the time. So they'll find clever ways of showing you Grogu without showing you Luke Skywalker. But you can't really tell his story, at least at the beginning of The Mandalorian Season 3, without talking about Luke Skywalker, so there'll be some clever ways of referencing him without having to do a ton of deepfake scenes. Just waiting for that Jedi montage, just see like a giant buffed up version of Grogu running around with Luke Skywalker riding on his back. I know we're all just hoping to see some sort of Hayden Christensen Anakin Skywalker crossover, maybe Force Ghost Anakin, maybe a flashback scene. That'd be a bit of a stretch, but if we hear any news about potential Hayden Christensen cameos in the Ahsoka Tano series or potential Ahsoka Tano cameos in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I will totally do a video about it. While you wait for everything, click here for all my Mandalorian Season 3 episode videos, and click here for that teaser trailer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, this is the way.